in the interim, while people are doing that, Avi, I did have a question. So in thinking about those, and to everyone, please excuse me because I've been in those cloud worlds for a long time. In thinking about the interactions between, as it applies to the EV space, and thinking about those clouds and how EVs fit in there, it seems to me that there are two pieces of the EV area. There is the stuff that attaches itself in some manner to the electricity system. So things like dispatching an EV to be a DER product, integrating EVs into distribution system, metering and whatnot. But there also seems to be a bunch of stuff that occurs outside of the utility or the electric system. To what extent is the framework extensible, I guess I'll use that word, to things outside of the electric system?
I guess in what way? What are you referring to? Are you referring to like the communication with the markets, or?
I'm thinking like, so if a customer shows up and uses a third-party charging station, and there's the ability of a consumer to pay, that, in my mind, is an interaction that does not really occur across or on the electricity system, but it occurs on the communication system, but back to a whole batch of different actors like banks and other financial services. So as we think about interoperability in the customer interface, but for things that are not in the electricity system, are there lessons or opportunities, or how can we leverage some of these concepts in here for areas outside of things that go through the electric utility or onto the electric system?
I think I understand your question a little bit more now. So, right. Let's begin by saying that the physical connection from the grid to the EV is well known and characterized, right? We have a few plugs. Not everybody uses the same plug, right? And there are some communications that go through those plugs between the vehicle and the EVSE that allow proper charging of the vehicle. But everything else in our connections to electric vehicles kind of assumes that interface is only there to do one thing, and it is only there to charge the vehicle. So the interesting thing about EVs is that even without having bidirectional power flow, you can provide massive grid service by just modulating the charge rate for the device, for the vehicle. You can do so much, but the problem is that with this default assumption that vehicles are only there to charge, and with the structures that are built up around that, it's tough to interact with the utility and to optimize that interaction. And I say optimize because, right, the benefit may be provided more to the EV user under one set of conditions. It may be provided more to the utility in another set of conditions, right? And the thing is that when we are done with this profile, it will be a way to describe outside of those, core local physical connections, what's being done and what the capability and capacity is for doing other stuff, right? So with this profile, it could say, all right, just going to charge. And we're going to prioritize transportation, so we're going to opt out of demand response. Or we're going to say, all right, we're going to charge, but we got nowhere to go, so we have all this flexibility to do whatever else might be wanted, right? When we normalize the mechanisms and the requirements for communicating all of these different things that we might do with the vehicle and between the vehicle or the charger and the grid, we then make it easier to communicate across other networks and organizations about what's being done. So I get, right, this is a long way of getting back to your question, and that, right, essentially at this time, if I understand what you're saying, some people get locked into certain charge operators, or there's a certain set of constraints placed on how they're able to use third-party charging infrastructures. And I would think that once you have a more normalized set of information exchanges about the interaction between the vehicle and the grid, or the charge point and the grid, that you're then also able to share that with the other communities that could benefit from that same information, and make it easier to move across charge networks or infrastructures as travel around or as are needed.
Got it. Great. Thank you.